Now, I mentioned I went back to school. Whoa! Use the clutch when you shift, dumbass. I only took 2 classes, and I only took classes, well, one of them, I think. This is how bad it is. I don't remember if I've taken both of these classes or not. I know I took one. I know for a fact that my history class was a redo. Because it was the last class that I failed. But I took this political science class, and I honestly cannot remember if I've taken it before or not. But either way, I got an A to B, and I don't remember which one's which, but fuck it. I pissed a lot of people off in my political science class because a lot of that shit really is kind of common sense. And you can kind of figure out the answers to a lot of questions just intuitively, almost. And you really, like, when it comes to, or at least with this professor, when it comes to like studying different Supreme Court cases, you remember the subject matter and the year and one of the names, because all the names are always different. Both of them are, almost, anyway. So if you, and you know, a general knowledge of history will kind of tell you, like, when fucking segregation was abolished, you know? It's like, gee, wasn't that sometime in the 60s? I think it was, anyway. I'm not really sure. It might have been the 50s. But point is, so you know it was in like the 50s or 60s, right? And you say, okay, what was the Supreme Court case that made this, that had caused this? And they give you one from like the 20s, you know, like women's, not women's suffrage, but the emancipation deal. Okay. And then they give you the one that was one of my personal favorites, had a lot to do with the state. It was actually caused by Texas and San Antonio versus this guy. It happened like 2 years ago, you know? And it's like, okay, I'm pretty sure that didn't happen 2 years ago, so it wasn't that. And then they give you 2 others that kind of make sense, and it's like, well, which one makes the most sense, you know? And you got it. And so many people couldn't figure this out. One of my best friends, the guy who loaned me the R6, was in the class, and I explained it to him, and he looked at me funny, and he's like, I will never be able to figure that out. And I was like, all right, whatever, man. Well, I don't remember exactly what his grades were. Like, there was one test, I studied for like 5 minutes for this motherfucker, and never cracked the book. And you know, I got like a 95 on that test, and this poor fucker makes like an 85 or something, and he's just looking at me like, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about. And I did it on the final too. I didn't even study for the final. I was like, fuck it. Either I'm gonna pass it or I'm not. Who cares? There's not a goddamn thing I can do about it now. Either you know it or you don't. 2 days ain't long enough to study for an actual final, you know? So I don't think I studied for it at all. I might have reviewed the review sheet for about 5 minutes. And I like on the walk to class. And I went in there and I took that bitch and I came out and I was just like, all right, I'm done. Fuck it. Let's go. And I got like an 89 or something. You know, I came out with an, well, that was the class I got an A in. So, yeah, easy class, right? The sad thing was the class average for the semester was like a 75. And I guess it's understandable when you start, if you actually listen to what some of your classmates have to say. You know, when there's 300 people in a political class, there's a lot of opinions, and a few of them are well-rounded and reasonable. And then the vast majority, you just look at them, you're like, what, are you fucking retarded? Jesus Christ, you're stupid. That's the only answer. You're an idiot. There was actually one girl who said that back in the 60s and 70s, that the guys that sack your groceries at the grocery store, they only made like $1 an hour, right? Maybe $2 an hour. And she goes, we pay people too much. You should be getting paid $7 an hour for sacking groceries. It needs to go back to the way it was in the 60s and 70s and pay them like $2. And I sit like 3 rows behind this bitch, and I just burst out laughing. She tried to look at me. I was like, you have got to be the most retarded fucking person I've ever met. I was like, you are the person who has no idea how much your bills actually cost. You have never written a check that came out of your own goddamn bank account in your life, have you? And she just kind of looked at me. I said, lady, there are people that get paid $2 an hour. You call them wait staff. And you know what? They practically beg for more money. That's why we tip each other, you know? I said, you go ask a waitress how well you can live off $2 fucking an hour. You can't do it. It is not possible. I said, you know, back then shit was cheap. In the 70s, before the gas crisis, gas was like, what, 60 cents a gallon? Not even, it's probably about 40 cents a gallon. If that. In the late 90s, it was, you know, 94 cents was, I think, the cheapest I ever saw it. And every now and then we'd have some pretty smart opinions. I usually kept my mouth shut because I tended to piss a lot of people off in there. But yeah, so it was kind of enjoyable going back to school. I was really apprehensive when I first went back because, I mean, here I am, 27 years old, been out of the game for 2 years, and I'm walking into a class that's supposed to be dominated by freshmen. And it turns out it wasn't. As luck would have it, I landed one of the few classes that was about a 50-50 split with older people. See, the older people are smart. This class started at noon. We're like, man, fuck this 8 a.m. shit. You ain't getting my ass out of bed at 7 o'clock in the goddamn morning to go to class. Screw that. My history class was like that too, but a little bit different. There were only about 20 people there. About 30 actually. We had a really weird teacher, but my sunglasses are digging into my nose. Our teacher was just really strange, and there were some selfish, stupid people in there too, but for the most part it was a pretty cohesive class. We actually had people that said that the teacher's idea for a final was, part of it was going to be these 3 or 4 essays. And she said, here's 20 to look at, or 20 prompts. 10 of them are going to be on the test. I'm not going to tell you which 10. Of those 10, you pick 5 to write over. And I'm thinking, that's easy. You figure out 10 of them, and you figure out how to write about 10 of them, and you're golden, you know? And they don't have to be really long or anything like that. And these people are like, oh, that's too much. We don't have enough time to study. I have other classes. And I was like, you know, our final in that class was the last day of finals. We had a week and a half to study. If you're telling me that in a week and a half, you can't study for 2 or 3 other classes and figure out how to write like a page or 2 on 10 different prompts, you really don't have any business being here, you know? It's a writing intensive course, people. You're gonna have to write shit. Get used to it. Oh well. I wanted to slap a couple of them too, but I resorted to trying to make the teacher laugh, and it usually worked. There was another guy in there who got it, you know, and he and I'd make some random stupid fucking comments in class. And we just have people laughing, you know, the teacher's laughing her ass off, and of course there's like 6 students going, huh? What are you talking about? And she asked if we were ready for this one quiz, and this guy goes, yeah, we got it in a lock. And she looked at him, and the teacher's like, you got it in a headlock, what? And he and I just kind of looked at each other like, where the fuck did this bitch get headlock? Whatever, go with it. And he goes, yeah, you know, headlock. Like you put your wife in, man. It's time to get domestic on this motherfucker. And like 5 of us just burst out laughing. And the teacher's looking at this dude going, man, you're freaking nuts. You know that, right? And there's about a dozen people sitting on the other side of the room going, what are you talking about? Get domestic on a test, huh? It's like, really? I need to explain domestic violence to you? Are you serious? Why the fuck are you in this class? Go back to middle school. Oh well. enough of that.